Hey everyone, Brandon here, and welcome back to more of the Falconers Moonlight. So, I'm going to continue where I left off. Thankfully, I have a save beforehand. Especially on, an important decision like this. So where I left off, I had a tough decision to make of whether or not to tell them the truth or not. And, you know what? I've been truthful the rest of the game, why not continue? I'd investigated these too thoroughly. Nearly had the telltale signs of a cedar. I was just going to have to trust them. If word of what I'm about to tell you spreads through this city, people will die. Well, through this town, people will die. Do you understand? Wicca and Sunlight nodded, and the looks on their faces told me they understood the gravity of the situation. Good. I took a deep breath, bracing myself for the inevitable outbursts. I've managed to kill one color, a large hunter type, but there's still one more of those out there, and a cedar, a type of color that can pass as a human. Sunlight and Wicca's mirrored each other's alarm and spoke almost at the same time. Pass as human? And pass as human. I may even work into figuring out how to put those audios both together. Please stay calm as best as you can. I'll find it. How? Let me explain. I was taught that casual conversation leads to serious discoveries. People love to talk about themselves, even the quiet ones. But colors, they're not people. A cedar color can do a damned fine job for pretending to be a person based on what they know, but they can't know everything. There will be holes, incidents, inconsistencies between what they say and about themselves and what others say. God. Others that have known the color's victims longer than the color has. As I saw for myself out there in the forest, looking over these hatched eggs, a cedar isn't a single character, it's a whole damned swarm. Usually centipedes, although other types of swarms have been documented. Cockroaches, beetles, even maggots. A multitude of horrors that gather to forge something truly monstrous. On their own, the swarms can act and feed independently, coming together only when the swarm wants to impersonate a human. They huddle together, bodies coiling, legs and jaws interlocking, forming something that approximates a human form. Then comes the truly disgusting part. From orifices unthinkable. They excrete slime and resin and mold themselves into the likeness of skin, eyes, hair, nails, tongue, and teeth. Oh god. Yet that's not the strangest part, at least not in my mind. No, what really gets under my skin is the intelligence of these things. On their own, they are no smarter than your guardian variety bug. Yet somehow these fool little creatures talk to each other. No one yet knows how, although there are theories. Pheromones, body language, sounds that no human ear can capture. I would guess the last one, because body language is tough when everything's sustained in one spot. And pheromones, I mean, I guess it's possible, but even humans can smell some pheromones. Whatever the truth, this ability allows them to mimic humanity to an uncanny degree. A cedar swarm will target a member of a human community. Usually someone with a bit of a social catch. One way or another. Sometimes a town elder, sometimes a pretty flirtatious girl. In fact, I've heard that cedars favor younger subjects rather than older. Less to learn, less that could be missed, and give their identity away. Over months, even a year or more, the swarm will watch and listen. They will spy from the shadows, peer through the cracks, do whatever they can to ensure that their target is being observed every minute of every day. During this time, the swarm learns the mark's language, speech, patterns, routines, and behaviors. Everything it needs to mimic that individual with most horrific accuracy. When the watching is over, when the swarm is confident that it's learned all it needs, then the target will one night find themselves alone and surrounded by a crawling, ravenous horde. A horde hungry not only for their flesh and blood, but for their very life and being. I heard a Catholic falconer once described cedars as soul eaters. The label is not without its merit. With their target consumed and their disguise in place, the cedar then walks among the community, shaking hands, trading jokes, and kissing lips. A picture of human normality. And that's when the real work begins. When a cedar does what it does best, it watches and learns, digging up community's dirty secrets, its lusts and dark ambitions. It uses what it learns, forges rumors and lies, seduction and deceit, turning neighbor against neighbor, friends against friends, raising tension until the community tears itself apart in a frenzy of fury and hatred. Okay. How do we even start looking for something like that? By doing what I've been doing, talking to people, listening to them, getting a feel for what they're about. Do you think I was one of these? What'd you call it? A cedar, right? Anyone could be. And you can be damn sure I won't be sharing this right now if I suspect either of you. And there's still another color out there in the bush somewhere, just like the one that put that tear in your side? Afraid so. Bloody hell. She took a tumble out from under the bar. A tumbler? Grabbed a bottle of whiskey from the shelf and filled the glass to the top, then downed it in one go. She wiped her lips with the back of her smooth hand, then proffered me the bottle. Careful one, it's on the house. Perhaps later, Sonny. It's about time I went and talked to the captain. You'll find him down at mine. He came in early this morning for his coffee and mentioned that's where he'd be today. Did he say what he was planning to do down there? Get to the bottom of the accident. If it was an accident. Sounds like you and George are of a similar opinion there. Then I best help him with his investigation. Poker, I hardly know her. I had to make that terrible joke. The morning mist curled around me as I walked down the street, headed for the Moonlight mine. I passed George. George is a great monolith of a house. I could never help wondering why the rich need such grand homesteads. Particularly George. He had no wife, no children, no one but servants to live in all those rooms, walk down all those halls. Yes, he'd have guests to say, balls to host, visiting dignitaries, and businessmen to entertain. Yet, wouldn't that money have been better spent on Moonlight Community Hall or even the Moonlight Motel? I mean, if you're going to try and take over someone to, like, have someone, like, try and turn everyone against each other, the like, mayor of a town is kind of a good one. As I neared the mine, the vista changed dramatically. Devastation was the only word I could muster. The earth ripped open like a party cake plundered by children. Stumps and scorched logs where ancient forests had once stood. A stream once clear. Thickened. With crayfish and eels, now a sluggish brown ooze stepped in sulfur and heavy metals. The mud sucked at my boots as I walked, as if hungry for the life that had been stolen from it. I heard the raised voices before I saw their owners, cast in the shadow of the mine's gaping maw. Or mouth. I like the gaping maw better. It's just a personal opinion on words. Yes, Biddy. The mine will be reopened. 65 men might have lost their lives, but several hundred will lose their livelihoods if the gold doesn't continue to flow. You can't give me that shit about anyone's livelihood but your own, Moonlight. That's simply not true. Oh, yeah? You tell me honestly now. What happens to that big fancy house of yours if there's no more gold? How are you gonna pay all those people you owe money to around town, King George? A gentleman's financial affairs are his own, Biddy. Now when that gentleman's taking advantage of the people's generosity, it ain't. Might I remind you of what this town was like before I came here? The way I remember it, the water was clean, and we had a damn sight more trees. And I don't remember people getting murdered by the dozen either. There wasn't even a dozen people to murder. Yeah, and we'd like it that way. Seems to me like the colors did too. George was clearly taken aback by Biddy's knowledge of the colors. And for that matter, so was I. Sure, George had knowledge of them, otherwise he'd never have contacted the Order for assistance. But Biddy? How the hell did she know? How in God's name do you know about that? I've been around a hell of a lot longer than you. Seen things that empty those silver spoon-fed guts of yours, all over the mud. I earned my captaincy in the Crimean War. You'd be surprised what I've seen. Biddy cackled like a witch from a fairy tale. I ain't never seen the inside of an officer's club. You're right there. All that regaling and rogering over glasses of Madeira must have been right horrifying. I don't know that word. If that's an alcohol, I've never even heard of that brand. If it's still a brand, because I know this is supposed to be like an old-time thing, you guys get what I'm saying. George gave me a great sigh. George gave a great sigh. The limit of his gentlemanly composure was clearly being tested. Whatever did I do to deserve you, Bridget Goodwin? Plenty, and you know it. She took a good long swig from her whiskey bottle, then fixed George with a beaming grin. There was no humor in it. Bright like a lemon, and just as bitter. Bet there's plenty load of cash headed your way soon. George looked at Biddy with the coldest regard I've ever seen a man deliver. What do you mean by that? Insurance? Don't tell me a canny businessman like yourself didn't have a hefty insurance policy on this long drop of yours. This long drop has brought this town a damn sight more happiness and prosperity than you have, Biddy. Biddy grinned and shrank. I like Biddy, though I don't completely trust her, and I still like how the alcohol bottle has that like skull and crossbones thing on it, like it's poison. You know what? You know what the best thing is about shite? No, but I imagine you're about to illuminate me. I am. Now pay attention. Teacher is talking. The depth of your wisdom never ceases to astound me. The best thing about shite is that it falls straight down. You know exactly where it's been and exactly where it's going. So, Moonlight, by definition, you are not a shite. What a relief. You wouldn't know a straight line if it bit you in the arse. Same goes for that weasel-faced lawyer you keep visiting. Have you been following me? Of course, since you stole my land, I've had nothing else to do but drink and dream about shooting you in your smug face. A wicked thought crossed Biddy's face. Did you notice that there's only two types of faces for lawyers? Skinny weasels and fat possums. It's the beady eyes they have in common. Otherwise, weasels and possums, that's what you're dealing with. Amusement momentarily overtook George, pervading distaste for Biddy's company. Admittedly, Mr. Cornwallis does have a certain chubby marsupial quality about him. Yeah, and bet he loves tucking all that money of yours into his tubby belly pouch. Must have cost a pretty penny to insure Moonlight's mine. Bloody dangerous pit, that is. And I bet the insurance company is fair crapping itself right now. All those families that need to be compensated for the loss of their man of the house. George's humor fled just as quickly as it had arrived. I would advise you cease poking your nose into my affairs, Biddy. Oh, I've not even started on your affairs, Moonlight. But then, I'll I'll not, sir, sully good Miss Suncliffe's reputation by hanging out that bit of grubby laundry. There are those lines even I don't cross. Moonlight and sunlight. Yes, it made a kind of sense. They were the closest thing to gentry about these parts, and the upper classes tend to prefer their own company. I often wondered about that. Most colonials, yeah, had come here to escape the class system and the old countries. Yet here they were, the uppers, building estates and mansions, carrying on like the lords and ladies of old, while the lowers worked, bowed, and scraped as they'd always done. Maybe that's just human nature. If some people are better off and some are worse off, then you can feel happy in the middle. Then it would pay to remember where those lines then it would pay to remember where those lines are with me, Biddy. There are some lines that, once crossed, cannot be uncrossed. With one gnarled hand, Biddy raised her whiskey bottle to her lips. The other rested firmly upon her antique revolver. You threatening me, Mr. Moonlight? You threatening me, Moonlight? Should I be fearing my safety now, like the last 65 that got in the way of your plans? George's face darkened as he pushed back his coat to reveal the elegant pistol tucked into the shoulder holster at his side. I rested my own hands on the handles of my guns. The order wouldn't be impressed if I stood idle while a generous donor got himself shot. Then again, Biddy might have been only bluffing. And if I interceded, it might push an unstable situation over the edge. Ooh. I don't think Biddy's gonna do that. I'll quickly save. But I'm fairly certain Biddy's not gonna shoot him. Let's keep listening. That was an accident, Biddy. Nothing more less, nothing more. I knew Jimmy Corbett better than you, Moonlight. When it came to his explosives, he didn't make no accidents. God, I keep right-clicking because my fingers sometimes just want to twitch. Perhaps you don't know Jimmy's worry as well as you think you do. He wasn't at his post at the time of the accident. He was found near the entrance, his head staved in by a falling rock. Biddy looked genuinely shocked by that. What? Jimmy never leave his bloody firecrackers alone. Not with work going on. That day he did. That doesn't make no sense. Don't make no sense. And perhaps the whiskey befuddled minds of yours doesn't know quite as much as you think it does. Biddy squinted at George with disgust, like he was a cockroach that crawled into her whiskey bottle. Ooh, that would be something I'd get pissed at. Whether it's me or that Falconer, you're going to get found out, Moonlight. Best keep checking that fancy watch of yours because time's running out. Whatever you think there's to find, Biddy, it's all in your head. Biddy shot George one last venomous look and waddled off into the mist. George rested his hand on his gun, his face impassive, as if he was considering whether or not to shoot Biddy in the back. I'd ready myself to draw on him should he give in to the temptation. Biddy faded into the gray, and George's hand shifted from his gun to his fob watch. He flipped it open and nodded with satisfaction. By the way, I really want one of these watches. I want one of those like really old-timey ones with a really nice design on the front. Because I'm actually fascinated by pocket watches. I actually really love them. They're so cool. And I just want to get one at some point. He flipped it open and nodded with satisfaction. If you'd like to join me on my investigation of the mine, Miss Winters, we'd better begin. I have an appointment with Mr. Cornwallis in an hour. He'd known I was there all along. Allowed me to hear what he felt I needed to hear. To what purpose? Did he want me to trust him? Was he hoping that Biddy would incriminate herself in some way? Manipulation like this was in keeping with cedar behavior. Such colors lived to manipulate. Yes, perhaps George was simply manipulative by nature. Either way, I wasn't about to trust him. I stepped out from the hiding place and kept my hands close to my guns as I approached him across the barren stretch of land. Mining equipment lay strewn about, left to lie where it had landed during the explosion. An overturned ore cart here, the remains of a shattered shed there, plenty of cover should George try to remove me from his picture of this troubled little town. But if George was a cedar, he'd be unlikely to try to murder me here, despite the disturbing lack of witnesses. He would know that I'd asked someone about his whereabouts, most likely Sunlight, and Biddy could testify to her presence here, if not mine. No, a cedar wouldn't deliberately draw much attention to itself, unless it was feeling cornered and desperate. I apologize for eavesdropping, but it's Falconer's job to garner information wherever she may be. If you didn't, I'd have cause to question my impending investigation in your esteemed order. The Order of the Falcon didn't need to ask for money from the likes of Captain George Moonlight. I knew that much. But it seldom refuses when offered a monetary reward for the insistence of its Falconeers. It's never cheap to fight a war, especially one on every conceivable front. I'm getting tired. While we're speaking of financial matters, is what Biddy said true about the insurance policy? Only the foolhardy man neglects to protect his fortune. And this insurance policy, does it extend to compensation for the families of those lost in the accident? Money cannot bring the dead back to life. No, but it can bring some form of livelihood to a family whose breadwinner is no more. Yes, I intend to offer support to those who have borne the burden of this tragedy. I imagine the law states as much. In fact, it doesn't. It's my choice and mine alone. These people have helped me become a wealthy man. It's the least I can do to help them in their time of need. He actually seemed sincere about that. Perhaps Biddy was wrong about George. Perhaps he was simply a good man struggling to deal with a bad situation. Yet again, words are cheap. I'd only be satisfied with George's intentions once I'd seen him make good on that promise. He could just as easily skip town with all of that money, set himself up in another part of the country. Word doesn't spread fast in New Zealand, if at all. There was a lot of wilderness between each pocket of civilization. Wait, what? Hold on a second. Okay, I thought... Still, perhaps it was better if George thought that I trusted him. He might be more likely to trust me in return. Then again, guile was the tool of the cedar. And I sure as hell wasn't one of them. Well, again, this is where I'm going to have to leave this episode off. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I'm going to quickly save. I'm going to save after each one of these. So thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you want to see me play down in the comments below, and I hope you all have an amazing day.